Hello, I'm Manda Remmen. I am a third-year graduate student in sculpture. This is my second Sculpture on Campus experience, and I want to say a quick thank you first to Michael, Tara, and Emily for watering my sculpture while I went to see my family. My sculpture is very long, so this is the end point. And what we'll do is, as we walk to the next piece, we'll walk along my sculpture, and if you have more questions as you see more parts of it, let me know. I'm the tall girl in the stripy dress. I'm pretty easy to find. This is titled Chain. According to a thesaurus, chain is also sequence, series, string, succession, procession, attach, and to fetter, which is to tie to. Time moves westward, starting in the east where the sun rises and moving across the sky. We are fettered to this land. We started, those of us who are European immigrants, which is most of us, although not all. We started on the East Coast and we moved westward across this continent as the sun does, in search of more arable land, leaving our footprint across this nation as we went. When we reached the West Coast, we could go no farther in our search of more places to grow what we need to survive. So we began changing and genetically modifying and altering plants to provide our sustenance. Working in sequence, I created a series of chairs strung across campus in a westward path. The first marker, which is not yet a chair, it's simply a mound, evolves to a stool, which evolves to a chair and becomes more refined. All the mounds, stools, and chairs are planted with crops that follow planting cycles, beginning with native peoples through crops of today. Goosefoot, Pawnee beans, Wachichu corn are all Native American crops. Flax, cereal rye, cowpeas, and flour corn were all crops that were planted as people first settled. Wheat, clover, timothy grass, heirloom Hidatsa shield beans, heirloom sweet corn show the evolution of the early selective breeding and the heirloom cycle. Orchard grass, horseradish, hybrid soybeans, hybrid sweet corn, and pasture mix show the more controlled selective breeding. And then this chair, which is genetically modified Roundup Ready corn, concludes the piece showing our advances in science. Beans and corn repeat throughout the timeline, each time closer together in the cycle, showing our increasing dependence upon these two crops and their dependence upon each other. The final chair, containing Roundup Ready corn, has no beans directly before it, and this signifies that we've moved beyond the need for natural cycles, and we ignore what can be done naturally, creating synthetic fertilizers. Just as the specific crops chosen illustrate this change in time and technology, so do the chairs. The mark of tools used to create the chair comes to a height and then fades back as the chair moves from raw to worked to more refined with less evidence of hand. The final chair is lathed, sanded, and sealed, protected against the elements, just as the crops are reliant on forces that are found outside those found in nature. The chair becomes impermeable to nature. The chairs were planted successively. I would plant one chair when the previous chair sprouted, and this progression allows the earliest crops to be the most established, bringing the element of time beyond that element of time that you need to view it. As you walk along the path illustrated by the chairs, the difference in the crops and their level of maturity is obvious. This is the newest planted one, so it's the smallest. Just as with farming, crops sometimes fail. Animals, weather, and other variables contribute to crop failure. Deer, insects, weed eaters, excessive heat, and drought all played a role in this piece. The chairs through the whole thing represent the people, and the crops represent the agricultural practices of time, evolving together through time, just as our evolution is linked to that of our food. Questions?
How many are there total?
There's 19 total. Wow. Sorry, 19 total chairs. Yeah.
And have you harvested anything from any of the chairs?
I have harvested some cowpeas. Other creatures have harvested some things too.
And how do you see that playing into some piece? Do you feel comfortable eating the harvest from your chairs?
I actually do. The beans are mostly, I think cowpeas are kind of like black-eyed peas. I'm not specifically sure. Their eye is kind of pink, but they're pretty similar. So I'm drying them out. I'm going to see if I can cook them later. Yes?
Where do they start at? Where does it start?
They start at the westward exit of the MUC, and we'll be walking up there to the next piece, so you'll see the whole progression as it goes through.
Is there a significance on the number that you chose?
Yes and no. It was the crops I could find. Initially, I wanted to aim for a nice round number like 20, but I had trouble getting a hold of another genetically modified crop because those are difficult to come by in packets of 5.